Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for checking me out. Today, I wanted to go over a music fundamental, intervals, which is the distance between one note to another, basically around the root. So let's get into it, check it out. Oh yeah, and if it's not too much to ask, if you could hit subscribe down below, like. I noticed 90-something% of you watching these videos aren't subscribed, and it would really help out the channel if you could throw a subscribe or a like. But let's get into the content. Thank you again. Okay. So like I was saying in the intro, today I wanted to show you guys something fundamental to music, intervals, which is just a fancy term for the distance from one note to another. So we're just going to start this off right away, give you an interval, and a reference that hopefully you're familiar with. So here we go. We're going to start with our E note. All right, so we have an E note now droning. Now, when you put one note against another note, it's harmony, no matter how you dice it. So the sound of these two notes, you can hear them kind of wobbling because they're so close to each other. But that gives you a certain feeling, maybe a little feeling of anxiety. It's just something about human nature, like, gives us these feelings. It's not the music's fault. It's just sound. It's just physics, y'all. So I think of course, the classic Jaws. So this distance from one note to a half step above it, or its neighboring note, is what we call a minor second. Minor second. The Jaws sound. Now, it's moving right along here. If we were to push that note against E to a whole step away, 2 keys away, if we're thinking piano keys, 2 frets, if we're thinking guitar, which I hope we're thinking guitar, this is what's called a major second. So we put them against each other. Sounds a little more major. Just happier. This one we're very familiar with. We're on the second, so now we must move up to E to G. So E, F, G. If we're playing along at home here, we've now moved up to the third. And the root note up against its third gives us our first chord that we would probably identify as an actual chord. So here we go. So an E against a G, or a root against its third, that's going to give you a minor third. It's kind of a sad, minor-y sound. Moving right along, this is the minor third. That's going to be a major third. Once again, drone, a doe, a deer, for you Sound of Music people. Moving right along here. So if this was the third, we ran out of thirds, minor third, major third. You guessed it, the A note is a fourth. Together, not really much of a chord if you're thinking from the perspective of E, but it is how our guitar is tuned. So maybe an interval, a guitarist that's played for a long time and has tuned their guitar hundreds of, if not thousands of times, can be familiar with. The sound of a fourth is the sound of one string to another string. Except for G and B, which is a third, major third. And then back to our fourths. Okay? So that's the sound of a fourth. E to A. E, F, G, A. 4. 4. We'll switch it. Okay? So if that's 4. Oh my goodness, what is this demon? E to a B flat or A sharp, depends on how you look at it. Well, if the last one was a 4, we would call this a sharp 4. And these two notes together, I'm not going to go into it because it's certainly been played out here on YouTube, but this was the forbidden riff, the forbidden interval note. But I think Adam Neely did a great video on that. Watch that after this one, kind of debunking that whole idea. But either way, it sounds kind of evil. And that is your sharp 4 or your flat 5, depending on how you think about it. On to the next. Hey, I know we're going over a lot of content right now, a lot of theory. It hurts sometimes. So let's take a break and thank our sponsor, you, the subscriber. And if you're not subscribed already, please consider hitting subscribe down below. The like, thumbs up, notifications so you don't miss any new videos. I'm planning on doing a series here all around theory, going more in depth. And if you're into this more long-winded explanations, please head over to my Patreon at here or down in the description below. And yeah, I'll have more long-form content if you guys are interested in that. But let's get on to the video. So E to now B, E, F, G, A, B. B would be the 5th of E, of our root, which I think of this as Star Wars. This is the Star Wars interval. Or any sort of power chord. It's a power riff, but Star Wars, power, you know, come on. The Jedi, how could you not think power? Unless you're on the Empire side. That's for more of that evil stuff that we were doing before. Okay, on to the next here. So if B is the 5 of E, the next note above 5 is a sharp 5. So not really a note you'd ever really want to hang on. I mean, it has its effect, I suppose. But it's a good little transitional note. Okay? So if that's our sharp 5, then this C sharp here is going to be our 6. So a root and the 6th note of its scale, C sharp. Once again, if you're playing along at home, E, F, G, A, B, C. In our key of E major, we sharp that, so that becomes C sharp. Doesn't sound really too great in this kind of way, but you reverse those notes, changes the interval. But a 6 and a 1 sound amazing together. A lot of harmony, a lot of good melodies, I mean, come from this. It's a very vocal, soulful chord tone, interval note. Okay, so that moves us on to our next note. So we're getting close back to home. So E and then a D together. Not sounding super awesome. Because the closer they get together, the closer two notes are together, the more they start to fight each other. It's just a pitch thing, it's a science, a physics thing, frequency thing. But E and D actually have a great relationship. They don't sound great, but they have a great relationship. You ever known people like that? You see them out together and they just sound, oh my gosh, they must be a horrible couple. And it turns out actually they've been together for a very long time and they have a very loving relationship. Not very common, but I'm sure it's out there. Anyway, today's digression. Okay, so we're at E, D, put it in a chord, it starts to not sound so bad. Because that D now becomes the minor 7 in our E minor chord. Or if we add it to our major chord, it becomes the minor 7 in our E major 7. It's an E major 7, okay? Don't get that confused with E major 7, which is the next interval we're going to touch on now. If we're in the key of E, this D sharp is now our major 7. Doesn't sound too happy in this way, but it's a major 7. And then that brings us up to our last note here, the octave, which brings us back home. E to an E octave. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So do, do. It's going from the same first note to the same note, just an octave higher. Okay? So I saw some people online having some trouble understanding intervals. And yeah, it's a little bit weird at first, I can understand. And honestly, you don't think about this stuff when you're playing. It becomes a little more intuitive as you internalize it. But just like everything on guitar and in life, it just takes a little practice. But the first start is knowing what you're doing. Okay, so to give an example, how these intervals make sense and why you should learn this stuff. If we're thinking a scale, or maybe an arpeggio, let's stick with E here, and think an E major scale. So E, major second, major third, 4, 5, 6, major 7, root. Major second, major third, fourth, 5th, 6th, 7, 8. Obviously, major scale is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 being octave, octagon, 8. Octopus, octagon. I feel like we've done that before. Okay, so another way you can use these intervals is if you're building chords or building arpeggios, which are just fractions of chords played in segments, note by note. So if we're sticking with E here, let's say we play E, or let's start here. Play the 2nd fret D string, E, it's 3rd, it's 5th, root 3rd, 5th. I mean, it's literally just notes from the chord, if you know like your E major chord shape. But you can move that anywhere. It's the same kind of concept. Root 3rd, 5th. But if I wanted to make that major 7, say I'm getting into jazz or blues, something like that, so what's the 7 of my E? Do, re, mi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I have this D sharp note. And because I know my octaves and the notes on my fretboard, okay, there's one. There's a D sharp. So now I have root 3rd. Excuse me. Root 3rd, major 7. Root 3rd, 5th, 7. So where this would make sense is if I had an E major 7 chord. And I wanted to, what do I play over that? Well, the ingredients of this chord, the recipe for it, is root E, B, a 5th, D is our 7, and then we have C or excuse me, G sharp as our third. So we just need root, third, and then our color note, D sharp. And that's going to spell out that chord. Same kind of thing. So you just need to know the intervals and plug them in with your triads, root, third, fifth, which once again is intervals, to make some of the more colorful, interesting arpeggios. So I think this one's gone on for plenty long today. I know it's a big concept to kind of think about and practice, but believe me, you hear this stuff all the time. You understand tension and release and how some notes work better together than others. So I hope you found something informative, if not entertaining today, and we'll see you on the next one. Let's get to the outro. Woo! I know that was a long one today. Thank you so much if you're seeing this part of the video. And if you did, you must be a real fan. Maybe hitting subscribe down below, throwing me a like. I greatly appreciate it. The algorithm appreciates it, and it will definitely help me grow this channel as we're moving along here. And thank you so much for checking me out, and we'll see you in the next one.